Hi, welcome back to Learning the Ukulele with me, Jonathan. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of things which are basic things really, and probably I should have covered them in an earlier video, but here we are now. So one is about tuning the ukulele and making sure it's in tune, and the other is about holding the ukulele. So let's start with that. So I've got a concert ukulele, so you've got also the soprano, which is slightly smaller, and the tenor, which is slightly bigger, but they're all similar sizes. So when you're holding the ukulele, the temptation is that you see the sound hole and you think that's where I need to strum. And so you hold it so that you can strum it there. Now that's okay, but if you can see that between the end of the ukulele, there's a gap here between my elbow and the ukulele. And actually, probably the best thing is tuck it into that elbow. Tuck it right in, so I'm pressing it into my elbow and this elbow is pressing back on it, and then it's nice and firm and I can hold it nice and firmly there. So it's not a rule. So if you find that that's not comfortable or you prefer to hold it some other way, that's fine. But it's a good guideline to say you've got the most control over it here. And then when I'm strumming, I'm not strumming over the sound hole. I'm actually strumming roughly where the body of the ukulele meets the neck. So just sort of here is where I naturally, but it's just wherever, because then obviously that depends slightly if you've got longer or shorter arms really. So I've got quite long arms, so for me I'm probably hitting it just over the gap. You might be slightly less, but it's not important to strum over the sound hole. Okay, the important thing is probably to hold it so that it's comfortably in the crook of your elbow, and that's a nice comfortable thing. The other thing I'd probably try to avoid is just supporting the ukulele on your knee. So you can do that, and it's not wrong, but as you get more into the ukulele, you'll probably find that that's more limiting in terms of what you can do with your right hand. So it's not quite in a good position to have a nice free strum at it. It's probably a little bit too far away. If you think about it, if you're doing any fine work, if you've got a needle, you tend to hold it here. You look here and you hold it here. You wouldn't hold it down here in your lap, and you wouldn't hold it, well, you might hold it there if your eyesight's very poor, but basically you'd hold it here as the most functional place. And this area is in a sense just between my hands there is where you have the most control. So if you're picking up a heavy box or a heavy thing, that's where you tend to hold it, because that's where you have the most control and where it's most comfortable. So the same thing with the ukulele. Here I am, I've tucked it into my arm and I'm holding it here. Okay, now the next thing is tuning. Okay, so when we're tuning the ukulele, and hopefully you've got some sort of automatic tuner, but some people, like I say, tune to the piano, tune to another instrument if they've got one or whatever, and that's fine. But if you're using a tuner, you tune the ukulele. Now sometimes that doesn't quite work, and the reason it doesn't work is because the tuner will be showing that it's that it's in tune. So you get maybe it's gone off the red and into the green or the blue, whatever colour your tuner goes when it's right, but it doesn't tell you that you've actually got the right note. So here we are, we want, what do we want? G, C, E, A, isn't it? G, C, E, A. Now, if I'm using a tuner, it might be that this note should be a C, but actually I've got it tuned to a B. And the tuner is saying, oh yeah, that's fine, that's in tune. And you think, oh, that's fine. But when you go to play it, you go, oh no, that's not, it doesn't sound good. So a little trick that I tend to do, just something that I do personally, is to play the Star Spangled Banner, because it works really well on the ukulele. So hence, so I'm playing a C chord. I've just got my finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, the A string. So there's my C chord, but I go, and then if there's a string that's not right, I can instantly hear, oh, that's the string where the problem is. And then I can address that. And if it's slightly out, you'll hear it. And if it's a long way out, you'll definitely hear it. But it's very obvious then which is the string that's doing the wrong thing. So when I pick up a ukulele, I must admit, I just automatically play the Star Spangled Banner, just for a moment. And then I go, oh, yep, everything's fine. And then I go on to play. So let's have a little go at that, because actually I think it's a nice thing to do, and it's also a nice thing that will help you in the future when it comes to finger picking. And finger picking on the ukulele is such a nice thing to do. So I'm going to start with saying that your thumb is going to cover the top 2 strings, strings number 1 and 2. So those two, the G and the C, your thumb is covering those, and then the E and the A strings are going to be covered by your first and your second finger, okay? And let's just see if we can get this up close so you can see. So I've got them, can you see, tucked underneath the strings, so ready to pluck upwards to make it, but I'm not hovering them above it, okay? I've got them actually placed up against the strings, ready to pluck. Okay, so that's where they are. They're just placed there on the strings, ready to pluck upwards, not on the top of the string, just with the tip of the pad. How close can we get this? Just the tip of the pad, just placing it there. So you can see I'm pulling on the string and it's just ready to pluck it. Okay, so that's the position for those hands, for that hand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go thumb on the first string and then finger on the third string. So I'm plucking up, then thumb on the second string, then finger on the third string again, then thumb on the top string, and then finger on the fourth string. And we get the Star Spangled Banner tune, but we can also hear that it's in tune. So one more time, we're going to do it very slowly. So first of all, I'm going to go thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger. Okay? So thumb, first finger, thumb, first finger, thumb, second finger. Okay? And then when you put it all together, and you can play it really slowly, you'll be able to hear it, but once you get it together, and I'm just playing the C chord on this side, I'm not moving that hand at all. So it's a nice way to start getting your fingers used to plucking the strings rather than just strumming, okay? Just a little way of checking that the ukulele's in tune. There you go, have some fun with that, and I'll see you next time.